Hey, what's good, people, man? Platinum Bearded Dread. Yeah, man. Question, man. How in control are you over your emotions? Are you the emotional kind that loses control? I'm sure a lot of us will probably say, I'm not the emotional kind. And there's nothing wrong with being emotional because emotion, that's part of being human, right? But I guess the real problem is when we don't have no control over it. And trust me, man, I'm talking about myself here just as much as anyone else that might be watching this. Because, you have days where, man, you've said certain things that we wish we didn't at the heat of the moment, or we've done certain things that we wish we didn't. And had we had time to reflect or be in control, of our internal, we wouldn't have said them. We wouldn't have done it. By then it's too late. I always tell my son, whenever because we live close by to a prison, yeah, and I said to my son, when on our bike rides, I say to him that, just imagine there's many, many people in that prison now, because of something they've said or done through heightened emotions, where that moment just took them, and now they're in there for months or years or whatever, based on being unable to control their emotions. And that's how deep it gets, that's how big it gets, man, because ultimately it could be one of the very things that once we're able to master it, man, not only is it freeing, but it can completely change the direction of our future, so that when we look back, we saved ourselves so much pain and all that kind of stuff. It's funny because when I was always intrigued by the villains in movies. They was always cool and calm. Maybe not cool, but they was very calm and controlled. And maybe that's what giving them their sinister, appeal. It was usually the British ones that were villains. They were able to play that calm role, and then they had the American ones as the villains because maybe they're more wild and stuff. But that always kind of intrigued me, man. And but the real deal is that being self-contained, being calm, being controlled, and being centered, if you like, that's a quality of the wise. The ancient ones, the wise ones, because they'd learned a secret, if you like, in terms of how to be in control of their emotions rather than the other way around, being controlled by your emotions. And so when the average person like us saw them, or just were in their company, it's almost baffling how they're able to stay so calm and not be distracted by everything going on around them, but being centered in that calm sereneness. So where do we even begin, man, to be able to stay in control of one's emotions? Particularly when you think about the fact that it's a natural part of being human to be emotional. Some cultures are more emotional than others, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It means that you're alive and you're vibrant and you've got energy. But like I said, it's when really the whole thing began to take control over you and you have no control over it, and you find yourself in places where you wish you didn't. So here's my take on it, man. I want you to imagine, it's one of those days where it just starts wrong. Whether it's your children are just late getting out of bed, or your partner's just grumpy and has rubbed you the wrong way, or a phone call has completely changed the direction of the morning, and so you're just not in a good place. And then imagine that frame of mind now. You have to imagine it, to imagine it. And so you've sent the children off to school and done the home run and all of that, and you're really flustered because you've been arguing with everyone in sight. And you're on your way home now, and you even decide to go into the shop. You're arguing with everyone in the shop, and you're arguing with someone on the street. Basically, people just rubbing you the wrong way. It started bad and it's got worse. And then there's this man just observing you while you're arguing, just smiling, quietly smiling. And as you're arguing, you catch him with the side of your eye, just smiling there. And you think to yourself, what the hell is he smiling at? He's either mad but he's still smiling. And in truth, you want to smack him, man. But there's something serene about him that makes you not want to do that. But anyway, while you are there arguing and that argument finishes, he quietly comes over to you and says, I can help you find a way to have better control of your emotions, and you'll find that you won't be drawn by everything you won't be drawn into everything around you, and you'll find a sense of peace. Peace at home, peace in relationship, peace everywhere. And again, a part of you wants to say, what is this madman talking about? But you realize that if he has that sereneness about himself, maybe there's something that he can offer. And at the end of the day, what have you got to lose, right? So with a side eye and a bit of pride, you say, all right, well, what? And then he smiles and says, okay, I want you to imagine with me now. And as you're listening to this, I want you to imagine too, yeah. He says, well, what he does, he brings out from his black zipped bag a cup a glass filled to the brim with water. First of all, you're like, what the hell? How does a man have a glass of water filled to the brim in his bag that is not even spilling? But anyway, so he quickly hands it to you. Straight away, you're like, what the hell is this? Is this some sort of dream? Because as he passes it to you, he doesn't spill a drop. But anyway, he motions you to hold it. So you hold it, spilling a drop, or 2 or 3 or 4. And he says to you, this water in this glass represents you and all your emotions. And what I need you to do, what I want you to do, and as he's about to say the next sentence, how can I call this? A trail parted by flowers and grass on each side opens up in front of you. Now remember, stay with me on this one, yeah. So a trail opens up with flowers and grass on either side, and on that pathway that leads off into the distance. And he says, what I want you to do is, with this glass that you have in your hand, you're going to walk that path to the very top. That path represents your particular journey unique to you. And the end, at the very end, will represent how your life unfolded. And as you reflect whether it was a happy one or whatever. But here's the key, right? And just before he's about to say something, the person says, come on now, walking with a glass of water, can't be that hard. And he says to you that, smiling, because as if he's ready for, says to you that, as you walk with the glass to the very end of that pathway, anytime you get angry, anytime you're drawn into arguments, anytime you hurt someone with your words or physically, anytime you gossip about someone, anytime you allow anything externally, whether that be good news, not good news, bad news, or anything external to make you change on the inside to a place of heaviness, or anything that goes on around you that changes your dynamics on the inside, you spill a drop. So for instance, if you allow yourself to be drawn into an argument or into anger, you spill a drop. And every time you're spilling the drop, you're increasing the chance of having no water left in your glass when you get to the end. And the reason why it's important, he says, is because when you get to the end, depending on how much water is in your cup, will depend on how much you'll be able to reflect back and see how much you could have had a better end result for your whole life journey. Which is why the key is keeping as much water in that glass as possible. And like I said, anytime you allow yourself to be drawn into something that's negative, you're losing water. And then you reflect on it and you look at the glass and you realize you've already dropped some. But then you say to yourself, okay, what have I got to lose? And just as you're about to look up, everything vanishes, he vanishes, everything stops. And then you shake your head, and the next minute you're in bed and you realize you've had a dream, or maybe you didn't. But either way, you wake up, but for some strange reason, the image of you holding the cup, the glass, with water filled to the brim is stuck in your mind, in your frame of mind, and you can't shake it. And as you get up in the morning, and it's the usual, getting ready, children ready for school, and they're late, having their breakfast, and you're yelling at them. But in your mind's eye, you see glass, you see water tipping from the glass. And then as you're ushering them off to school, and you realize you're late because they've made you late, so you're late for work now, about to put the keys in the car, and you're thumping on the steering wheel because, man, what am I going to say to my boss? You're losing more water. You start the ignition, you start driving, someone cuts you in the traffic, more, and now all of a sudden, every time you're getting drawn into anger or, anything that's negative, in your mind's eye, you keep seeing water leaving the cup, spilling from the cup. And something interesting happens because you start to feel that the man said, that water is you. And every time water spills from the cup, you're losing a part of yourself. And now what happens is that you're more mindful of how you're responding to what's going on around you. And you become almost, almost affectionate about the water in the cup. You get a mother and a daughter, or mother and a son, and there's an innateness in them that wants to protect their child. And that's how you become in regards to that water with the cup, because he realizes you, and you realize that if you're spilling water, you're losing yourself. So now you're very, very conscious, and you're very mindful of every time you lose some water, you lose a part of yourself. And so now you realize that the rest of your journey is going to be about trying to maintain as much water in the cup, trying to maintain as much of yourself as possible, trying as little as possible to be drawn to what goes on externally. And even after a few weeks of this, people around you change because they've noticed something different in you. And your relationships begin to change based on the energy. Your whole energy changes, and you kind of reflect back on the sereneness of the man that came to you in the dream, or whatever you want to call it. And now it all begins to make sense, even though it's still unbelievable, if you like. I'm gonna leave it there, right? And I want you to imagine that's the rest of your journey from here on. Just don't forget the glass filled to the brim with water, and don't forget the water representing you and your emotions, and whether or not you're going to be able to walk that pathway and retain as much water as possible. Anyway, man. Yeah, man. Platinum bearded dread. Tails in my house, man. Yeah, man. Oh yeah, don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe or something, and that way we can do this again. Yeah.